Cherubhead's timeline was very unrealistic, and it was very rushed. Because, you know, I was just a keen bean, wanted to get this film done, wanted to get it out the door, so I can make the next one, right?
So after having gone through the entire filmmaking process multiple times now, what would you say is the most challenging part of creating a film?
Well, producing, but that's my personal...
Yeah, see, that's you and me, like, swapped around, like, writing's I hate writing and you hate producing, like, yeah.
I think overall, I have a couple of different answers to this question, and I'll be quick with them. But the actual artistic process, I think the most difficult part for me personally is post. Is the edit. Because in the writing stage you have no limits. You have all of the possibilities are open. And as soon as you go into production, those possibilities shrink very quickly. And production is all about, okay, we thought that we were going to have this lighting, we have this lighting, or this is a continuity issue, or this is and reality comes in, and the world comes in and messes up your film. And post is the realization of that, and having to come to terms. I usually realize, and I think most artists realize at around about that specific stage in the edit, that you know that it's not going to be the film that you imagined it would be when you were in that writing stage. You know exactly what I mean. And so just having to come to terms with that, and to see all the continuity issues, and to see that you're human and you make mistakes, and that's what humans do, and you are not a film god, you are just a person trying to make something the best that you can. It's a very humbling stage of the process, and you just try to make it work as best as you can. And then that's the little low part, and then you get your rough cut, and then the soundtrack comes in, and whenever I get my original score into my film, my excitement just like it goes up again. It spikes again. Because then I'm like, no, this is actually going to be good. This is actually going to work. This is actually going to work for us.
This is really nice to hear.
Comes in.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm pretty much the same. So I absolutely hate my film until those last few details are in there. So until those last few like sound effects are in there, I absolutely hate it. But then once those are in there, then it's like, the film. This is a film. I can sit down and watch this now. Like it's real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, don't lose hope. It does come together in the end, but there's that stage when you're just out of production. You're looking at the footage for the first time. You're going through it all, and you're putting the pieces together, and you're like, oh god, this is not gonna work.
when you're like at that stage when you're just like labeling raw footage, it's really scary because you're like, is this it? Is this we did all that work for like this? But because by itself it isn't anything, you know. By itself, like there's not even any sound attached to it, you know. It's just this this gray
raw footage,
you know, footage.
With camera audio if you haven't synced it all up yet. So it's rough sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
But you've just gotta hold on.
Yeah, and while you're in that editing stage as well, you know, there'll always be those moments where you are editing and you're like, I really wish we had that shot, but production's done now. There's nothing I can do about that. And something that
there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, and there's been a number of times, like, you know, like the film is like edited and done, like we've finished it. And, you know, maybe we're submitting it to a certain thing or whatever it might be. And then someone will just suggest, can you maybe put in a scene here where this kind of thing happens? It's like, you want me to like get those 50 people back for like, you know, and film the whole thing? It's not an option. I can't do that.
Exactly, and that's why you need that feedback in pre-production. You need it, because you can't have people coming and saying you need to add all these scenes in when you've made it. There is nothing you can do, and you just feel horrible because if you had been told that 5 months prior, you could write the scenes in. You could get the.
It's a lot easier. All I have to do is like that, and then it's fixed. You know.
Oh, it's my worst nightmare. It's actually making me stressed right now just thinking about it, because it's so triggering.
Yeah. Okay, well, with that, let's go to the next question, I think, hey? We're both getting a bit of like PTSD happening at the moment. Yeah. No. Not
post.
Yeah. It's also funny because like if I had to, I mean, I guess maybe other than directing, if I had to like pinpoint, you know, what my main skills are, the main one is editing, but I still feel all of these same emotions and go through this whole thing. Like, like even though editing's one of the main things I do, it's still, you know, like
it's an
a
emotional
scary
process.
Yeah. Could you explain if and how you raised money for the project for Cherub Head? You know, like, did you fundraise for it? Did you borrow money? Did you use your own money? And perhaps maybe you could give some kind of rough breakdown as to where the money went, or if there was no money, then maybe where all the, you know, the resources went in general.
Sure. So in terms of Cherub Head, well, in terms of all of my projects, I haven't had anything funded. I am very much an emerging creative, and I'm very much in that stage where you've just got to keep pushing out, chugging out content, whether people like you or not, because you're here and you're here to stay, and you've got to prove that. Yep. So for Cherub Head, it was a no budget. We had $2,500.
Yep. That's pretty good for like a feature.
And so very much a no budget. And so it was filmed. So this chair that I'm currently sitting on was the main chair in the set. I'm sure you can probably recognize it. The color. And this blue this was the room that we did 90% of the film in. We got my bed out. It's real. I'm living in it. We booted my bed out, and we turned this into a kitchen and living room. Kitchen, dining room, living room.
Is that the room where she was drinking tea all the time? Room. Like, is that it?
Yes. Yeah. This is the room. This is the room that I am currently sitting in. So we did most of the film in this one room because the room was free. And I knew this going in to making my first feature. I knew who the heck is going to fund an 18-year-old who's never gone to film school and is making a feature? No one. No one in their right minds is. So I had to have an honest look at what I had. What do I have? What can I currently use? And I called on favors from people. So I made sure that Marie felt like a very kind of, let's say, traditional style and feel and decor, because I had op shops, which always has very old, outdated decor that I could go to put into the set. And I had my lovely grandma who makes all these lovely doilies, and I got all those for free from her. And so I dotted them around the room, things like that, right? And you've just got to, when it comes to writing, that's why, you know, it's really interesting that you say that you can literally do anything when it comes to writing, because the first thing that I think of as a writer is I try to think like a producer as a writer. Which funnily enough, I think, okay, what do I have? What do I have? And all of a sudden, these millions of possibilities come into one. Really?
And I think that's fantastic as well. Like that's like one of the first steps you should do. Like think, you know, like you've got all these things you want to do, but what can you actually do?
Exactly. It's going to save you so much pain, and you're actually going to be able to make your film. If I had tried to have been too ambitious, I wouldn't have been able to make it, because the script is always going to stop you. And so the easiest thing is to just from the get-go think, what do I have, what can I work with? So that was that, and then as a result we were able to, you know, we already had our set locked in, we already had, you know, all of our production design mainly done.
Yeah.
So then the question was, and this is the hard question, how with a budget do you make things look cinematic?
Yeah.
And this is like a whole other question to how do you actually make the film, right? Because we really wanted Cherub Head to have a distinct and competitive style and a competitive look that would be able to make it into festivals, which is a whole nother challenge. And ultimately that just comes down to your preference as a creative. For me it was color. So I painted, this room was originally white, and I said from the get-go, people are not going to be able to cope watching a film that is set in a white room for an hour and a half. It's going to bore people so much, and it's not going to be aesthetically pleasing at all.
It's really cool that you managed to pick up on that thing. Like, it's cool that you managed to sort of pick up early on that, people don't want to see a white wall. Yeah.
No, people do not. And all I needed to do to figure that out was to go and watch a film that has been made and has been successful. White walls are a particular choice when people have a budget, and they usually aren't there for most of the film. So it's like you need color and you need interesting visuals in order to keep people engaged. So we painted the walls, we painted all the rooms different colors, and I made sure that, you know, this chair was not a black chair. It's not a black chair, it's not a white chair, it's a yellow chair. It's got this vibrance to it. It's got this life to it. The costumes were all vibrant and they were all so symbolic. So if, you know, someone gets bored because the dialogue is literally, you know, slowly killing them inside, they can look at the costumes and be like, okay, well, she's been wearing blue for the start and she's slowly wearing more red now. What's the reason behind that? Ellie was starting out wearing pink and red and now she's wearing more blues. Oh, there are these rings on her fingers. She actually mentioned, she brought those up. Add details so that, because even though you're in that room, there's a lot to pick apart in the room. Like, you know, the specific books that I chose in the bookshelves, if you're bored and we got this wide and you're stuck on this wide, you can look somewhere else and you can find a little Easter egg. And as an audience member, that just gives you excitement, and you feel happy when you find this little secret about the film that just you found out, you know, that no one else knows. For example, the Easter egg I always love to share with people is that painting has deliberately been cropped out. And if you do actually go and look up that painting, you'll see the other side of the painting, which is a very funny Easter egg, and it represents the plot of the film. So there are lots of deliberate details that have been put into the production design, the costumes, the hairstyling, the casting, the basically all the mise-en-scène that helps to just keep people engaged when you have no money. If you don't have money, you did really put in meaning.
So I think you did really quite good with that, you know, because with the nature of your story, it is about three characters sort of in like an isolated, you know, location. But then with that isolated, restricted location, you're able to, you're sort of able to add in all of these details so that it's still interesting the whole way. And then, you know, add on top of that, of course, the psychological complexities to it as well.
The layers of complexity. So, and that was just my style. That was just my style. I viewed having a low budget, having no money, as a creative problem that could be solved. You just need to think creatively, you need to think outside the box a little bit, and you need to figure out what, again, if you're an audience member sitting in that cinema, what is going to pick up your attention. So in terms of budget breakdown, pretty much all of the money went to feeding the cast.
That's the important one.
Yeah, a lot of money went towards feeding the cast and the production design. Yeah. I invested a lot in as much of my budget as I could in the production design, because no matter how fancy your camera is, if you're capturing crap, you're gonna get crap. Mm-hmm. So instead of getting the big fancy camera and spending all my money on that, I spent the money on making the set look as nice as it could, the costumes look as nice as they could, and making it have that feel about it, and investing in the feel and the atmosphere and the tone. Yeah. The cast and crew for Cherubhead were amazing, and I am eternally grateful for them. And crowdfunding has personally never worked for me, and I've never seen it work. But if you can, I've heard that if you nail the marketing and if you've got that social media following, you can get it. It's just never worked for me, and personally, I've in the early stages of my career, I've just really tried hard to not let that stop me, and to not be dependent on the public as much as possible, to try and be able to just, again, when I'm looking at the script, figure out how I'm going to be able to make the film from the first page that I write. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Whenever I'm preparing or planning the budget for a film, I will always make multiple versions of that budget. So I'll have one budget where best case scenario, we get all the money we need, we make it as best as it, as good as it can be. But then I'll also make another budget, assuming we didn't get any of that, so that no matter what actually happens, there's nothing actually stopping us from moving ahead with this film.
Yeah.
And it's just about that creative problem solving, that's all it is. And like I think in today's digital age, there's so many different ways that we can actually accomplish something. We just need to get a bit creative in order to do it.
Exactly. And that's actually really fantastic in terms of, diversity and supporting diverse perspectives, because, people aren't quite as limited as they were before. It's a lot easier to get access to gear and to be able to get access to being able to make these films. That being said, I do know that there are a lot of things that personal factors and cultural factors that can prevent you from doing it, of course, but it's for people who are already on the path. It's definitely the gates are definitely opening a lot wider than they had before.
That's it. Yeah.
Don't have to dedicate all of your budget to film anymore.
To that's it.
You get the digital camera, then you're there, and some hard drives.
Yeah, exactly. Because when we were making the Heretics film, like the camera we use, it's not a bad camera, but it's certainly not a cinema camera, and definitely not the typical camera that you would use on a feature film. So a lot of the times when people ask, what did you make this movie on? It's we made it on this thing. Like, what? But you can't.
Out of curiosity, what did you make it on?
We made it with the Canon EOS R, not the R5 or the R6 or anything, but just the first one. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah, so it's capable of, the 4K and everything, but only once you have, the other attachments. Yeah. We squeezed every bit of quality we could out of that thing.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Yeah. Look, I shot Poppy on a Canon 200D, so, I know the feeling.
we were going to do Heretics on a 200D. But it's just what we had, the one that we ended up having access to. So
you could splash out a bit, yeah.
Can you break down the timeline for a project like this for Cherubhead? When did you come up with the initial idea? How long did it take before you actually started writing the idea? How long did it take to finish the script? How long was production and pre-production, and also how long was post-production?
So, keep in mind that I made this straight out of high school. So I was in a weird place where I felt like I had a lot of energy and I had a gap year ahead of me. Yeah. And so I sort of just told everyone I was going to have a gap year. And I said to myself, no, I'm going to make a feature film in a year, which is I now know is a very unrealistic goal to set for yourself. You cannot make a feature film in a year. Well, you can, but oh boy, you're going to have to make some sacrifices to make it.
Probably only if that's the only thing you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had the concept in December 2020. I wrote it in December 2020. I had the script finished in 4 weeks, and then I just gave it to some friends. They were my editors. My friends were my editors, and they said it was fine. So then that must mean that it's fine, right?
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah. First script masterpiece. Done it. Let's move on.
So there are only like 2 drafts. And then I was in pre-production for Feb and March. We started filming in April.
My goodness.
To July. And then I know, it's so unrealistic. And then we were in post from August to October. So did all the post sound and the editing for a feature film in 3 months. It was a lot of people lost their sanity on this project. There were a lot of
you bolted the doors shut. We're not leaving until this is done. Oh my goodness.
So, and funny enough, just to give you, for anyone who has not made a feature film listening, or not made a film listening to this podcast, right? My short has taken longer to make than this feature Cherub Head. My short, we filmed, I wrote the script for that March last year, so more than a year ago. And we are still in post sound right now as I speak. So,
yeah.
So when you ask about a timeline, Cherub Head's timeline was very unrealistic, and it was very rushed. Because, you know, I was just a keen bean, wanted to get this film done, wanted to get it out the door so I can make the next one, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think someone told me recently that, like, the average time frame for a feature film is, like, 5 years or something. I was like, oh, my goodness.
Well, apparently it's gone up. It's just increased to 8 for independent feature films.
Little bit of a heart attack, but okay.
It's a long time. Yeah, it's a long time, and there are a lot of people in, I know especially the WA film community that are trying really hard to get around that.
Yeah.
And so setting up small communities where people help each other and just try really hard to push those projects through, because the problem with indie films is that there are so many roadblocks and there are so many hurdles that you've got to get over that it just, like, even when it comes to independent filming, like, you can have it can be 8 years to make this film, right? But 5 of those 8 years are just spent trying to get the funding. Like, I kid you not, 5 years can just be spent in financing, and you know that. You can just stay there forever. And then once you actually get the money, then, crap, suddenly the film's been made, and it only took us, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So, I think with this increase in this number, it's been more to do with how much harder it is to get the financing for an independent project, rather than the actual length it takes to make a film, which is why, again, being able to just work with what I have with the script and to just from the first pages make sure that we can make the film has really worked wonders in terms of creating products, because you don't have money that is stopping you. You can just keep going.
Just make something that you are currently able to make, and then if you do get money, just make it better. Exactly. Don't let that stop you, because again, you can just be stuck at those roadblocks for such a long time. And all of a sudden, you've lost 5 years of your life. What projects have you made in that time? Exactly. So, like there's a certain point, because it's really weird with film, because of course when you move into development or into pre-production or whatever, you probably don't have any support, because you're just one person with a piece of paper. And
exactly. And you're a newbie. Who's going to support a newbie? They're so risky,
Yeah, that's it. I think with Heretics, in terms of the funding, so we kind of went through the crowdfunding route. We didn't get any, we didn't get like a crazy like 10,000 in a day or any of those things that you hear about every now and then. But ours, we just had like a gradual crowdfund, like it was on GoFundMe, so there's no deadline or anything for that. You can just keep it going. And I think we kind of got lucky with that one, because you know, we would get to a certain point where, you know, like we need this amount of money in order to pay for this thing. And just by chance, there was someone that donated that amount of money. So we're like, whew, because otherwise it would have just come out of my pocket or something, and, you know, I'd be broke. But thancefully.
That's very lucky. That's never happened to me. Good on ya.
Yeah,
Who's this person? Can I get in contact with them?
There were a couple of people in particular that definitely like helped us push it to where it needed to go.
Shout out to those people. Shout out to those people.
Yes. Yep. Shout out to you guys. You're amazing. You know, hopefully you're watching this. So
my name's Sarah Legg. We'll link my website in the description.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Contact her directly.
I've got my investment page. Yeah.
How did you find the other cast members for Cherub Head? Could you tell us a little bit about how you handled the casting process? And was this your first time working with them, or have you worked with them before?
This was my first time with a completely new casting crew. Like, cool. In the lead up to this, I'd only made a couple of shorts with, you know, school friends.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't doing this. We were doing like public call outs and getting anyone who was interested.
Yeah.
We had quite a lot of people, again, criticize us and give us a lot of crap for it online.
All right.
Saying, you know, no one should accept this job. It's unpaid. Yada.
Yeah.
Which again is totally fair.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're not in a position to be able to be a part of it, don't be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it's there were some people who were super keen to get on board. I'll say right now it's been easier getting a casting crew for a feature than it has been for a short, because with a feature you're getting a feature credit out of it, and that's something quite substantial that you don't get access to very often. Shorts are everywhere. You can like there are always shorts on the go, and so it's been a lot harder getting crew, especially crew, on board for a short than it is for a feature.
Yeah, I think someone said to me, and it's probably outdated now, but someone said to me recently, there's like, you know, like 800,000 shorts made every day or something like that. It's probably more, like it's probably gone up by now, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, exactly, right? So, and who watches shorts, right? Like, there's such a large number of shorts for such a small audience of people that watches them.
Yeah.
Whereas features there's quite a small number of features for quite a large audience.
Yeah.
That like to watch them. So, it's definitely if you can manage to make a feature, the odds are in your favor. When it came to our casting crew, I just went onto, you know, casting networks online. I did an Instagram post on our account that at the time had 20 followers.
Oh yeah.
And I made it a little paid ad, and I just got it sent out and around. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was literally a mum and dad 2 followers moment. Angie found out about us because I had sent an email to a talent agency. So I just sent an email to all these talent agencies, and I think like 80% of them just ignored me. But one of them actually like just copied and pasted what I'd said and just sent it to everyone. Yeah, and that's how Angelina and her mum got in contact with me. And then it went from there. And it was the same case for Nicola. Nicola was from the other agent that had just copied and pasted and forwarded my email on. So we got our cast through agencies. Our crew, we mainly got through like posting on social media, posting on Facebook, posting in those like communities, and posting in on Instagram.
I think that Facebook groups are quite valuable for
friends
that.
of friends. Yeah, they can get flooded.
Yeah.
But you know, if you luck in, then there are a couple of people. That being said, we only got a couple of people out of that. Yeah, mainly friends of friends. I had a really old childhood friend who was like, "Yep, I will come on. I will be your soundy when you need a soundy. I'll be your clapper when you need a clapper." And he was only there for like, you know, 4 days on set, but every time he was there, he was such great help. Shout out to you, Darcy.
Yeah.
So like any friends, when you're starting out, you know, like it's what's really important, I think personally, and I'm sure you can agree, is not necessarily the talent your cast and crew, but the morale of the cast and crew, and just the attitude that everyone has, because for those first few features, that's what you're relying on, and that's the energy that you're sort of feeding off to make the project happen. And I would when it comes to choosing either a talented crew member who has like zero energy when they come on set, they're just grumpy and they don't, communicate with anyone, versus someone who, does make a couple of mistakes but is keen to learn and has like that really great energy and everyone gets along with them so well. I will choose that person any day. When it comes to indie startup filmmaking. And then you know what? That person with that great vibe and that great energy also becomes a great, crew member, cinematographer, sound recordist, and then you've got your team.
Just sort of using like Heretics as another example, there's scenes where we need, like this horde of bad guys, right? There's plenty of scenes where my mum's in there, like my brother's in the horde, we got like the parents of one of the kids and they're in there too, and so
exactly.
There were a couple of scenes where we didn't really have enough people, so we just got one of our other like main actors who was there on the day, and we put a hood on them, and then we would put them back there too. You just do whatever you can.
My brother is a very talented drummer, and so we had him drum on a keyboard, on a computer keyboard, and then that became a part of our soundtrack.
That's so funny.
You find ways.
What did that sound like? I need to listen. I need to go back through and see if I can find that.
You saw it, yeah, you heard it. It's when Catherine's typing on the keyboard, but I didn't want it to just be monotonous typing. I wanted it to be to like a beat, so we got him to
That's so funny.
Drum on the keyboard.
That's funny,
and we recorded that, and it just it gives it that kind of musicality and rhythm that you wouldn't get with just.
That's funny. I gotta go back and I gotta rewatch that. How big was your crew, and were there any roles in particular that you found harder to fill?
So we had a very small crew, small skeleton crew. We had myself as the director, producer, actor, and production designer and costume designer. We had indie filmmaking. We had the DP / cameraman / first AC. Then we had a lighting person, and then we had our soundy, and then we had our first AD, and our makeup artist. So 6 people.
Yeah, cool.
Max 6 people on set as crew, and then whoever we needed for cast on the day. So very small crew, and the hardest position to fill was the producer, because I couldn't find any producers, and so I just had to do it myself. Which is quite, it's a slug, but you got to do it. Everything else was pretty easy to find. Plenty of camera crew out there, camera and lighting crew. Harder to find a soundy. To find a soundy.
I think that's a common
Everyone
one that I
wants
hear.
to do lighting and camera. No one wants to do sound. But I love sound so much. Sound's one of my favorite parts of film.
That's quite interesting.
I care so much about the sound of a film. And I am still waiting to find the perfect soundy that cares about sound as much as I do.
It's funny because especially in Perth, when you're looking for a sound person, it seems to be those same like 4 people that everyone, recommend.
Yeah, exactly. And as a result, they're just so overworked. They're so overworked, and
they're really good because of it, but they're also busy.
Yeah, but they're also constantly booked, and you don't want to give them another project in a way, because it's going to destroy them. So
can you elaborate a bit more on the underlying themes and the messages in the story that you're trying to portray?
It's a projection of the adaptation, because it was also what I was experiencing at the time growing up. When we grow up, I'm not sure about you, but as I was growing up, I could feel myself falling into patterns, and falling into ways of thinking that, you know, I had to actively stop myself and say, well, no, and I have to challenge that, and I have to say, well, what about this alternative way of seeing the world or seeing this topic or this idea? And so, without spoiling the film, the ultimate conclusion that I want the audience to come to is that Sophie Pierro and Marionette are negative influences in their own special ways. And as a young person, it's your voice should be valued. And I know quite often that it's not, because there is this idea that you are inexperienced and you should be learning, not speaking. But if there's something that our generation, the Gen Z generation, has learned, it's that no, we should speak. We should speak up. And it is important for us to speak up and to listen. So it's to have a balanced view of when you are discussing and when you're having a conversation and when you're exploring ideas. Not to just have this one agenda and to push this one agenda, even if you think that agenda is the right agenda. Whenever you push something, there's always going to be a flaw to it. And so sometimes the balanced view is the best view. I've always found it quite interesting over the years. I'm not sure if other people experience this, but especially, you know, through the high school years, you know, someone might try to teach you something, and then you ask why, you know, so, you know, let's say like math, you know, they're trying to teach you math, and you ask, why do I need to use this? And a lot of the time people will kind of get annoyed that you asked why, you know. It's like, just the fact that they are teaching you that this is how you're supposed to do it, you should kind of just go and do it. Found it quite fascinating that they're afraid to like go deeper and explain why it is that you're actually doing this thing, because I suppose if you started talking about why you're doing it, then you might kind of realize that maybe it's not actually the right answer after all. Or that it's really important. And then once you have that reason, once you know, oh, maths is actually a really useful tool and it's really going to save my ass in the future to know about maths when it comes to producing, I am going to be so motivated to learn those concepts. Because sometimes all that you need is a balanced view.
Exactly. It's like, why am I learning 50 different ways to measure a triangle? You know, I don't know why I would need to do that, but like, if you told me, then I might be interested in triangles. So
I know that wasn't the intention of The Prince, but it's the moral that I came to, and I just went with it, you know?
The Prince might have been sort of working toward one issue in society, and then you just sort of took it that step further and looked at a different angle. That's all it is.
Again, because it's a manual and it's trying to tell you how to be a prince. If you were to do a faithful adaptation, the conclusion would be that you are the prince. You follow the manual, and then as a result, you are the prince. But that wasn't the story that I wanted to tell. I wanted it to be an exploration, right? So as a result, you know, we see the good, the bad, and the ugly of every one of those aspects that, Machiavelli obviously didn't go to in his book, but I had the fun of exploring as an artist and as a storyteller with these characters that I'd made, and putting them into uncomfortable situations and saying, all right, who's gonna crack?
How did you organize set design, and did you need to change very much to get the look that you wanted, or did your filming locations have most of what you needed already?
You know, I did have to just, again, work around the script, figure out what, you know, I did have, and then I used what I already had to try and create some, I tried to put that into the script and create some meaning from that. So, you know, we have the paintings.
Yeah, so like, you know, like you have those board games in there, you know, like, do you own those board games and you just thought, I'm just going to have to, you know, find a way to make that work in the story?
Yeah, pretty much everything in the story we already owned, because the more we owned that we could use, the less money we had to spend.
Yeah.
That was the way of going around that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and you probably had all these things in your mind as you're writing the story to, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
like the game with the letters, because that's kind of central to the story in a couple of moments. So
yes, and that's, you know, again, trying to create an interesting visual, a fun little detail, but also something that is something that you can read deeper into, or with something that you have. So don't for indie filmmaking, my approach isn't to try and create something that isn't there. It's to use what I already have there and assign meaning to it.
You're able to look at one little bit of a film and you could just go so deep into that single moment,
That's what we love about it, right?
Yeah, that's it. We're insane ourselves, like.
Yeah. If that podcast hasn't already established.
Yes. Yeah. So for anyone that's watching, if you're looking to get into film, don't.
This is the moral of this podcast.
Yeah. Okay, maybe we won't make a channel.
You will lose everything. You will have no money.
What are the 3 biggest things that you've learned after making your first feature film? All right, three biggest things that you've learned from making your first feature film.
First feature film, Cherub Head. Feed your crew. Feed your crew.
Yeah.
When people get hungry, they get angry. And they will not go overtime for you. They will be like, no, Sarah, we're not doing another 3 shots. We're going home and we're having a sleep.
Yes.
Number 2, creativity always triumphs. Some of what people have said are like the best moments in the film have been moments where we got all the shots that we wanted, so we wanted to experiment a bit and take some risks, and those risks paid off, and when they pay off big. So that was a really great part of and that's a part of the filmmaking process that a lot of us love. We love having fun with the medium. Sometimes film can start to feel like, you've got that shot list and you've just got to bang, 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 get everything done. And it feels too much like the creation of a product and not the experimentation of an art form. And so when you get that little bit of time, which I love to now schedule on film sets, is to have a bit of creative time to just, let's try that shot that we thought, we might not be able to do, but let's just see, can we do it? There's no harm in finding out. Third of all, cut hard and fast. Again, going back to having an emotional attachment to scenes that just didn't need to be there. I want to go back into post for Cherub Head, and I do want to cut out a couple of scenes because, I had this strong emotional attachment to it at the time, but, now looking a year on, I'm looking at it and I'm going, that can be cut, that can be cut, that can be cut, that can be cut. And so I try really hard to make sure that, because funnily enough, we'd already cut out half an hour of the film and there was still more that we could cut out.
Do you mean that it was originally like a 2-hour film? Because I think it's like an hour and a half now, yeah.
It was originally 2 hours, 2 hours, 15 minutes or something like that.
And then you probably have the extended director's cut or something as well, maybe?
God, no, that'd be so boring. So much tedious symbolic stuff that's just so boring and no one cares about. And I'm like, but this line links to this study that I read about, I have this one scene in the film where like the whole purpose of the scene is because one of the lines linked to a study, like a research paper that I'd read about battle strategies. And it's like, okay, that's a cool detail, but like a whole scene? Cut hard and fast. Yeah. Like, again, I know that they're your babies and you love them, but give it, over time you're just going to lose that emotional attachment, or at least I did. I don't know about you. I'm sure you don't have the same love. Love's not the word. You always have your projects have a special place in your heart, but over time you can sort of mature up and you can start to become less like the filmmaker you were when you were working on that project, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because for Heretics, I was the person that edited that film, so I've watched it 1,000 times. I don't have an interest in ever seeing it again.
Yeah, exactly. I am the same.
I'm so excited that other people can watch it, but I would be happy if I could just forget that it exists. I've seen it enough. Never
watch it again. Exactly. And when people hear me say that, they're like, no.
Yeah.
Why? That's so sad. And I'm like, nope, it's just the process. It's just the process, man.
I see it in my dreams. I don't need it to be on. I know everything that happens, What was your favorite part of the whole process?
God, if I just say writing again, I'm gonna be that's not the answer you want. You want meeting the cast.
I think there's a lot of people that would be like you and a lot like me. There would be a lot of people that are scared of the writing part and a lot of people that love the writing part. So
right.
Yeah.
Oh, look, for the people scared of writing, I can definitely try very hard to convince you to love writing, because that's one of the best parts in my opinion. And I can just see your face right now. You're like, no, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I smash them out. I call it the vomiting stage, and I just go... Yeah. I go wild, and I let my intuition run free, and I just, whatever comes out, you know? But I really try not to leave projects unfinished.
Yeah. Like, I find it so hard to do that vomit draft of the script, like, because I'll start writing, and then I'll just be like, this is terrible. I can't, I'm like 20 pages in and it's already terrible. I can't keep going for another 80 pages or whatever. And
it's that little voice, isn't it? It was the same when, you know, I was directing my acting. If you have that voice, it's going to stop you.
Yeah.
It's just going to stop you. And I guess we just get those voices in different aspects of the process, don't we?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, meeting the cast and those first few days rehearsing with the cast were definitely one of my favorite moments. I love the excitement on set. I love the buzz.
Yeah.
I love the excitement on set, and I love cast so much. I really am an actor's director, probably because I was an actor, and I love acting and I love storytelling, and that's the whole point of it for me.
Yeah.
So I just love being with the cast, and they're always my favorite moments on set, is being with them and talking about the story with them.
That's cool.
And just telling the story with them. I know we got some very different responses. This podcast, this episode's just turned into yes, can't relate, yes.
Yeah, it's like, oh, so that's how the other half lives. Okay, right. Don't understand, but sure. But that's the whole thing with film. Like, you need other people that can fill in the gaps. Like, ideally, you will have like the creative people, and you will have, you know, the business-minded people for the producing. You know, you'd have different types of brains who can accomplish each of these tasks. That's the goal, you know.
If you had a whole crew of creative people all working together, the film would never get made. And if you had a whole crew of, you know, logical people, you'd get so much stuff made. But, you know, you wouldn't be taking those creative risks, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the balance needs to be there. I have no clue about accounting. You know what you'd do? You'd be the best producers of a wide establishing, 2 over-the-shoulder close-ups and 1 detail shot. That's what you would do.
That's it.
That's what you would do.
You'd be ticking off a checklist.
Every scene, just that.
What advice would you have for anyone else who is wanting to venture out and make their first film?
Like, it all starts, you ride or die at the script. If the script has something unrealistic and you're not going to be able to make the film, you're not going to be able to make the film. Change the script so that you can make the film. Change the script so that you can make sure that all of the steps are already laid out for you. There are no mysteries. There are no, I don't know how we're going to film that, but we'll figure it out when we get there, because if you get there and you can't do it, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So save yourself the pain and just make sure everything is sorted in those early stages of script writing and pre-production.
Yeah.
It's going to save you.
So I hear that you have another film going into production later this year. Is there anything that you're allowed to tell us about it?
So, very exciting. We're going to have an announcement not too far off now. Can't say anything about what it is for now, but really excited to be able to share when we do. We've also got a short that's in production, going to be going into production in a few months as well. So it's about a very relevant topic. It's something that we've got a great team behind. And we're honestly very excited to be to have this team and to have the cast that we've been able to secure as well.
Cool.
Which it's just phenomenal, and it really goes to show that, you know, even if for those first few years you are roughing it, if you play your cards right and you just keep at it and you keep persisting, good karma's going to come your way.
Yeah, and if you establish those good relationships,
you're going to meet like-minded people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
exactly.
it.
They really help you out, and they really are what get you through to from one stage to the next stage and the next stage.
Yes.
And you've just got to be persistent and keep pushing through.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, like that, like I feel like starting anything, like anything that you care about, getting started is the hardest part. And then once you get through that rough patch of that time period when you're not actually very good, once you get past that, that's when you can start seeing, the fruits from your labor, basically.
Exactly. And it does take a while, and don't rush it. I rushed it. I had that crazy unrealistic timeline, and yeah, I got the fruits from my labor, but I always question, if I dedicated an extra year to it and we made the film a lot better, what festivals it could have been able to get into, maybe those higher tier festivals that it missed this time around because it was rushed. So when it comes to your projects, don't rush those first few projects. You're going to be able to get somewhere with them. The community is very supportive of first-time filmmakers. There are specific festival entries for first-time filmmakers, first-time directors sometimes. So, don't waste that opportunity to be able to make those connections, because they're going to really lift you up and propel you into your next project.
I think that was very well put. Where can people find some of your work? Where can they watch your movies? Are there any screenings coming out soon? Or
yeah, so all of my films are done through West Mirror Media, which you can go to our website, which is www.westmirrormedia.com. Very simple. And then all of our projects are put up there, so you can see all the films that way. Currently, we're having DVDs made.
Oh, cool.
And I've been told there's a 3 to 4 month turnaround on that.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out, October, November this year, to potentially be seeing Cherub Head popping out.
Yeah, cool.
And potentially a couple of other films. And we're going to try and get a few more screenings within the next few months in Melbourne, in Perth, and hopefully internationally as well. But all of those updates are put on our socials and put on the website, which is all at West Mirror Media. And then we have our feature announcement as well. That'll be on the website, and that'll hopefully be in a few other articles. So hopefully you'll be able to navigate through that way. And if you stalk hard enough, Poppy's on YouTube, so you can find it that way as well. But you got to do a bit of hard searching to come to that one.
All right, so everyone that's watching, there's a challenge for you. Find Poppy and watch it.
Yeah, there we go. It's a challenge we'll appreciate, because we'll actually get some views for once.
Yeah.
Our student film is getting views on YouTube. My God.
So that's pretty much everything. I think we've covered so much stuff in this interview.
That was a lot.
We've been going for like 2.5, 3 hours or something like that. I think it's been it's been really cool sort of meeting you, and just diving deep into like everything that you've been through on your filmmaking journey.
Everything film. And you too with Heretics. It's always great to talk to another director who knows the process.
The pain
and getting those looks from you. Yeah,
that's
really made me laugh. It was good. It was wonderful.
It's a painful process, but it's also the my favorite thing in the world.
Rewarding.
So yeah.
Exactly.
Like once you get started, and once you're hooked, you can't really stop. So, but so again, thank you for taking out, a big chunk of your day for this. I'll put links in the description for the video so everyone can find you and your work. For anyone that's watching, Sarah Legg, keep an eye on her. She's going to be coming out with some pretty great things this year, and of course into the future. And I'm excited to see where it all goes. And I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that unique style that I've noticed in your film so far. And thank you again.
Thank you so much for this, Aiden.